What is the sound of one hand clapping? What is the sound of one fist punching? What is the sound of the IronCast? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the sound of the IronCast, our final episode of the IronCast, possibly forever. We'll see if this gets renewed. I am Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my svelte, enriched friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz, always glad to see you. Tonight's episode, Dragons Play with Fire. In a desperate search to clear his name, Danny learns a terrible truth that places him on a new path. Directed by Steven Surjic. Created by, of course, Scott Buck. Scott Buck gets a written by credit. Tamara Betcher, credited as Tamara Betcher Wilkinson, gets a written by credit, as does Pat Charles. And pulling in the hard work, as always, is Dwayne Worrell, our staff writer. Way to go, Dwayne. Okay, let's see here. Where to start in tonight's episode? I will be honest, I haven't done my rewatch, so I watched it, and then I watched the next show we're going to do, which is Daredevil Season 2. Stay tuned later, kids, for the Devil You Know podcast.
That's going to be fun.
That is going to be fun.
This episode starts with, Harold walking into his apartment, and something I didn't catch the first time I was watching it, and I thought I should pay attention to it, but the newscaster on the TV talks about how Danny is wanted for smuggling drugs.
Yes. Danny is a wanted man, and we have to do our big heist to get the computer back to free Danny. Before that, we do have a nice scene with Gao, and this is my big walkaway, because I think this is actually something that I think was the central thesis of Gao's character. And the central thesis of the Iron Fist in general. And why I think Gao, because they have announced that Gao will be in Defenders. I do think Gao is very much the connective tissue of our Netflix universe right now. And this is this really important thing, because Gao speaks in a fable, as so many oracles of Delphi have over the years, and gives a statement that can be read multiple ways. She tells Danny that there are two doors ahead of him. Through one door, he will kill Harold Meacham and will become the Iron Fist that he is destined to be. Or he can choose the other door. And do you recall what she says about those who choose the other door, Mozz?
I don't know. What did she say right there?
She says, those who choose the other door are never heard from again.
Oh, okay.
But you see, there is an old urban legend of a prison camp, of which the warden would offer his men every day the option of going through a door or staying within the camp. And he would say, through that door lay certain death. I tell you, those who go through that door are never heard from again. Or you may stay here in the camp and continue to work until you die. And men would choose life in the camp over certain death through the other door. And the story goes as it does, and things go on. And at the very end, the war ends and the camp opens up. And someone asks the warden, what is through the door that is certain death, and those who walk through are never heard from again? And he says, well, freedom, of course. Because those who go through the door are never heard from again, for they will never return to this camp. And of course, all life will end in death. Certainly. So what she is telling Danny in this way is that if he chooses to kill Harold Meacham, he will be the Iron Fist that he is destined to be, meaning that he will be the Iron Fist that came to New York, the tortured, worried Iron Fist, the Iron Fist that doesn't want to be the Iron Fist. He will be the damaged Iron Fist, because he will kill Harold, and that will be what defines him for the rest of his life. He will be the Iron Fist that he was destined to be as the outsider who came to take the Iron Fist. But if he chooses the other door, he will never be heard from again. Meaning that what he will become will be something as yet unheard of. It will be his own thing. He will make his own way.
Huh.
And
so I wonder if
mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. You make
your. I was gonna say, I wonder if there's a way to interpret this as saying, like, either you kill Harold, which is sort of what she wants, or you can go the other way, and people who do, in my head, I immediately thought the last Iron Fist, and he's not there anymore because obviously he got killed by the Hand, right?
Well, we don't know. He might have simply died of old age.
Oh, okay. Because the only memory I have is that video of him fighting all those guys. So
yeah.
So I was wondering if she's basically sort of threatening him in a way, slyly,
yeah. Well, because what I think it is he is presenting him like the warden in the myth goes, offering him a statement that is not a falsehood,
right.
but leaves him open to accept the path that she wants for him.
Right.
Because she wants a corrupted Iron Fist. She wants the Iron Fist at her side. She wants the Iron Fist that is the Danny Rand, that is the child forced into service of the monks, the child who is beaten and scared and afraid and easily manipulated. That's the Iron Fist she wants.
Since you said that, it kind of made me think, like, Harold says in this episode where Ward asks him, he goes, so you've been manipulating him ever since he got back? And he said, no, since far before then. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if Danny was made to be sent to Kunlun by the Hand in order to win the Iron Fist and bring it back for them. Like, that's what it sounds like their plan was, right? Because Harold was obviously the one responsible for that plane crashing and then the monks finding him. I wonder if that was like an offering.
I wonder, I mean, honestly, I will be honest with you, I will not say that is not the case. I mean, it's obviously a much deeper pull to make that be the case. A lot more long-term manipulation, but quite frankly, it doesn't surprise me. And I'll give you even an idea here. It may have been, this is a comic book universe. And one of the things I think about this episode is it really brings home the idea of something, there's this constant statement about the science magic interplay in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this idea that, we can't just have magic. It always has to be explained away as science. And we see this again in the most recent Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the final episode of this season. The thing is that all magic is science and all science is magic. And if the science, any significantly advanced enough science is magic. Not appears to be magic, it's simply magic. Because magic has rules, magic has practitioners, and magic has limitations. And one of the things I think we see in this episode is that there is a magical quality. There is something well beyond simply what we expect. And I think when we get to our final scene in this episode, we see that. But I don't want to get to that too fast here. What I think about Gao in this parable is that, it is this idea that there is this manipulation going on. And it is this question of what Danny is going to rise to. And in a way, one of the things about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that, Tom Hiddleston made Loki, such a beloved character that it's hard to keep him evil, And I kind of think that about Madame Gao here, where I think we are sitting here and we're like, well, she is evil. She is Madame Gao. She is the bad guy. But we have to acknowledge that maybe there may be this multiple level beyond just being the bad guy that suggests that her plans go much farther than what anyone else is considering. That she isn't, that trafficking heroin, that's a means to an end. That's an item on the checklist of things she has to do today. It is not.
Yeah, that's not something an immortal person would waste their time doing.
Exactly. Or to be more specific, it's something that an immortal person would do, Because any damage caused or any good caused, basically there's this great line. The first time Doctor Strange in the comic books really encounters the Dread Dormammu, he has this line that I'll always remember. He says, the Dread Dormammu. He is evil, but only by our human morality.
Mm.
And the idea is that if you are someone that is maybe just at that step beyond, things of morality and good and evil aren't as important. And of course, you get this, in the most recent. Have you seen the recent Guardians of the Galaxy yet, Mozz?
I have not yet.
Okay.
I have not yet.
Okay, well, I'll give you a little spoiler to it. I mean, do you want spoilers? Do you mind spoilers?
Sure.
Okay.
It's fine.
So in this scene, Ego, who is this living planet and this eternal being, as he's talking to his son in this, he says to him, all these beings in our life are not like us. They are transitory. And we cannot worry about them. Because what we are working towards is something greater. Now, what that greatness is highly debatable. And certainly there is this level in any greater mystical question as to, what is the value of this greater universal understanding if it comes at the cost of one's humanity? Is there value to humanity?
Outside of its own circle.
Exactly. And that's the question at the core of Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, we can all guess how it gets answered there.
Fair enough.
here we're dealing with something that is, again, this very centuries old scheme of Madame Gao that is bound in humanity. Because it's not like she is as separate as a celestial from everything. She still lives with humans and deals with humans. So I think her morality, while it's still of that detached quality, may still see the random human that she interacts with as having value and purpose. And part of me thinks that at the end of the day, she really wants what's best for Danny, even if what she thinks is best for Danny isn't necessarily what's best for Danny. Whether Danny becomes a hero or a villain, that is of limited consequence to one is Gao. Gao is going to continue on and do what she does.
Right.
And Danny will be either a part of it, will either be an antagonist or a protagonist in her story, but her story will continue regardless. Her plans will continue regardless. And in her own way, she has sort of an interest, a tutorial interest in Danny, in helping him become something more than what the ease of his life might be.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think her interest is simply selfish in that, can she have him as an asset? And if not, then she'll have to fight him like she always has had to fight Iron Fist, I guess. But if she can have him as an asset, that would be a coup. And if in my opinion, if she set up the whole thing to begin with, then she obviously has a vested interest for all this time and effort that she's invested into getting a sleeper cell agent into Kunlun. And who knows how many she had sent before, because at the end of this episode, she seems to be real cozy with Davos as well.
Oh, yes. Well,
so that's an interesting thought. So maybe he was sent before and he was also sent. So it seems like the corruption could run very, very, very deep.
Yes, it could.
That's super exciting.
Yes. Well, and like I say, Gao, the final scene with Gao is certainly one that is meant to make us be aware of what Gao can be and what we may be looking towards in the future with this series. Now, to the actual meat of the series, we do get basically Danny and Ward are working together. And we definitely get this idea that Danny basically wants to put Ward in charge of the company.
Yeah.
Because Danny never wanted to run Rand, and we get back to those early episodes where it's like, you guys realize you caused every problem you have this series, Because honestly, all Danny wanted to do was just hang out with Ward and Joy and play Chutes and Ladders. You know, maybe go down to go down to Montauk some weekend. You know, but it was never really about, oh, I am back to reclaim my rightful rule as the Emperor of Rand. No, it was like, you know, dude, you want to go out and get Chinese food? It'd be nice, you know.
Yeah.
But everyone basically was worried because technically he was the full part. He was the 51% partner, you know, and yeah, that was a bad idea. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's funny how people see their own reflection in people all the time, and that's what causes their missteps, you know? Like, you think the other person is just like you see yourself in them, so you automatically sort of expect them to act the same as you would.
Exactly. There's a a line by Lex Luthor, where essentially why he rejects the idea that Superman might be Clark Kent, where he says, you know, that would mean that he, you know, that a man who could be Superman would pretend to not be Superman, and to have that humility would basically, and basically the idea is that would make him better than us, you know. I refuse to believe that Superman's a better person than I am. Because if I had that power, I would simply be Superman all the time. Which, of course, says way more about Lex Luthor than it does about Superman. Oh, yes. But, you know, this is the thing. They've caused their problems, but now Danny is aligned with Ward because they know because of course everyone is talking about how, well, who's going to kill Harold? Because now we know how to kill Harold. And someone's got to kill him. And of course, Claire in this, is there a way we do this without someone getting murdered? You know?
And it's like at this point, with how much has happened and how much is at stake, I think that line of reasoning is completely unnecessary and silly. Really. I mean, I can't believe that someone in this situation is saying, hey, can we please not kill people? Like, look so many people have gotten hurt and died, and, you know, the whole world is at stake. Kunlun is at stake, and it's just crazy to me that someone is still that hung up on.
But that is the hero's dilemma. You know, that's the thing. It's like, and this again goes back to what Gauss says about the two doors. You can kill Ward and be the Iron Fist you are destined to be, or you can make another choice. And what Claire is saying here is, and again, Colleen says the same thing. If you kill him, it's going to corrupt you in such a way, you know, in the same way that if I had killed Bakuto, it would have corrupted me in this deep way. Because once you cross that line, once you become the murderer, and once you plan to be the murderer, and that's the thing, that's the thing, because, you know, spoilers.
Is that the distinction?
Ward dies at the end of this, regardless.
Harold.
Harold. I always get these guys. Names aren't differentiated enough. Harold dies regardless. The difference is if you're going in with the intent to kill Harold.
That's a good one.
Or Harold dies in battle. Because people are going to die in battle. Everyone knows people die in battle.
Right. Yeah, that was my thought, because it's like, okay, how can you expect to be the Iron Fist and not kill anybody? You know, it's like, you're a warrior. Your job is to take up to having to make the decisions that we can't, because we value our morality and our humanity. You've got to take up the mantle to do the things that we can't, to get things done, you know? And you can't be afraid of killing somebody. Otherwise, you're not worthy of being the Iron Fist. You're just like a regular person with regular morality and regular responsibilities and obligations.
But then we come to Colleen and the Bushido's code, and why it was important that she not be the one who killed Bakuto. Because
but your point is interesting. The premeditation makes it not warrior-like.
Exactly. Well, that's the point. It's like, and it's not even that. It's not even the premeditation. It's killing for your own sake. You can kill for the greater good, and you can kill because I have no other option but to kill. But if you kill for revenge, if you kill for power, if you kill for self-aggrandizement, then that action corrupts you, makes you less human, if you will. makes you like Harold and the legend of the man who comes back, and how much less and less humanity remains each time he comes back. You know, a man who does not fear death, who continually returns from the dead, will have less of what that fear of death gives him, and what fear of death gives us is empathy. Because that I fear death and that you fear death is the one thing we all have in common, and the one thing that makes us recognize you are like me, you too are human. But if you separate yourself from that fear of death, your humanity...
They all just become ants.
Exactly. Because if I can't die but you can, then I don't have to fear what you have to fear, so we are two separate things. And that is... I mean, that I think is the morality play at work here.
And that's where Gao is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because she is trying to tempt people down the darker path. You know,
because they're just ants.
Yeah, well, perhaps. Perhaps. But she is a very, very intelligent young girl with a magnifying glass.
Right.
You know, she may burn all the ants, but she's going to burn only the ants she wants to. And each ant that burns,
she's going to get them to build structures for her that she can use.
Exactly. And that brings us to our big conflagration in the central part of this episode. We see Danny, and honestly, it was like the weirdest thing with this. Danny starts having these like airplane visions and static hallucinations.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not explained.
Yeah, I don't get it. What was it?
Like, well, you know what? I think there's probably something
or, you gave a reason for it.
Yeah, there was probably a reason in another script that got cut for budgetary reasons. You know, as we've said, one of the things that I think is killing this show is that they don't have the budget to shoot as much as they want, and they don't have the budget to shoot as many takes as they want, and they're also trying to meet their time expectations. So I think that all these things come together to really hurt this show. So I think we're getting this revelation here, and it might be teased elsewhere, and we might be able to extrapolate what it is, but we're never given a payoff for it. So we don't know what all this stuff is about. Right. Sorry.
Now, that's a little frustrating, yeah.
Yeah, and possibly this is all stuff that we'll see in Defenders. Maybe these questions and many others will be answered on the next episode of Defenders. But for now, we're not getting that. But they do make their plan. They go in to confront Harold and the Hand and everyone. They do steal the laptop. And as these things do, they come down to Harold and Danny on the roof. Duking it out. Danny has gotten shot in his iron fist.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember.
Wait, does he does a really interesting thing that I hadn't seen him do right before they get to the roof. Because they're in the office. Danny has come into the office, and Harold has sent his goons to get him. And, Danny turns the lights out, and everybody's shooting, and he feels trapped, and he does that thing where he slams his fist into the ground and sends a shockwave, and everybody falls over.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
I don't know if he knew he could do that.
Yeah. Well, and prior to that, there's that weird thing where he, flies in through the window.
Oh, yeah. It was so, weird and unexplained that I just said, I'm just not going to think about it.
Yeah.
I just figured repelled in somehow.
Yeah, I figured something like that. But you basically see the real power of the Iron Fist being unleashed here. And I think that's I remember in a much earlier episode, you had said how you felt that, there didn't seem to be much more to Danny except for a guy wearing, a metal glove.
Metal hand, yeah.
Yeah, but here I think we're seeing that focused chi, almost like, again, to Guardians of the Galaxy, where we see Yondu with his arrow, using it in not necessarily the most simplistic way. He does this thing where he's holding onto his arrow and he's using that to sort of gently land on a surface, and that's where we get the Mary Poppins line. It's really good. But it is this idea that, that once you have mastery of this power, Like the simple thing is, it's a fist that breaks things. But the idea that there's actually so much more you can do with this fist, this focused chi, that, there is a lot more you can do. And you can use it to fly through a wall or smash the ground and send out a shockwave, a la the Hulk, And that is all really amazing stuff.
Yeah.
When we do get to Danny and Harold on the roof, we do see that I'm trying to remember, because someone comes in at the end, don't they, to help Danny? I'm trying to remember who that was.
I mean, well, that's the final big moment, because Danny kicks him and Harold lands on like a satellite or something, a metal piece.
Yeah.
It's sticking down. It goes right through him. And you're like, oh, wow, he does kill Harold. And then Harold starts, sliding himself off of the thing, because apparently when you come back the third time, the fourth, fifth time, whatever, you get stronger and stronger.
Yes.
And maybe it's just a mental thing. A lot of when you die is your body saying, oh no, we're going to die. And then just like preparing the body to die and putting certain things into motion. So now when he knows that he's going to come back, maybe his body doesn't react to it. So it's just basically, there's a pain in my chest. It's not a big deal. I wonder if that has something to do with it. But he pulls himself off and he's about to come in and, oh my God. And then Ward walks in and shoots Harold, and just this great father-son scene.
Oh, yeah.
He's tumbling over.
He goes off the building.
The most poetic thing. He should be the one to do it. He should be the one to do it.
Well, yeah, because and the obvious point is, as every great anti-hero will tell you, my soul's already corrupt. I don't need to worry about being corrupted by my murdering of this guy, because I'm already corrupt. So.
And he's the one who corrupted me.
Yes. Well, so, it just goes to show you, you got to plan these things out.
Yeah.
And then, what I think is the best thing is we get our codas to everybody's story. And man, I was waiting for something to go on with Harold, because we know you have to actually cut off his head.
Yes.
And we never, now arguably if he fell on his head got pretty much smushed. So that's the effect.
Yeah. And even if not, when you cremate him, essentially when it disintegrates, the pieces that were attached to his body that were his head are now officially not attached to what used to be the body anymore, right?
Well, yeah. So, certainly the cremation would do it. But here's what I'll say. It strikes my comic book curiosity that we never saw a body.
Right.
And so we're sitting here because we see Ward being like, yes, well, we have to cremate, he is still my father and I have to let him go. But we never actually, that's the thing is, do we really know Ward is Ward really on Danny's side? What actually wound up as the outcome here? I mean, I was actually waiting. What I was waiting for.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I was waiting for the in coffin view of Harold waking up.
Yeah.
Let me out. I was waiting for that, and we didn't get it. That we didn't get that makes me utterly suspicious of the entire scene.
Very, very true. I just don't think Ward has it in him to participate in any more deceit. He just wants to relax. I don't think he has it in him. But if somehow through, means not under his control, that body was switched and that box is actually empty, that's an interesting point. Or I don't know how many days it's been since they got the body and decided to cremate it. I don't know if it's that night. I mean, Ward seems to have a nice suit on. I don't know if Danny's got a suit on too. So if it's been more than 3 days, maybe Harold woke up and left him. Or what I was thinking was maybe he'll, like you said, wake up in the coffin because it's been 3 days since they, or maybe he comes back quicker every time. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well,
but we did.
That's the thing is we don't know. We don't really know what happened. And I think writing off Harold so easily, I think, is a mistake. And then we go to Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And we see Davos and Joy talking. And we have Davos making his point. And then we pan away and see that there is Gao.
Yeah, but before we get to that, what I found really interesting was all of a sudden, Joy is corruptible now, or has, some sort of animosity towards the situation, what happened, or Danny, where the entire series, they did put no effort into giving her anything to grasp on to give this sort of betrayal any sort of validity or believability.
I'm gonna completely turn around to you, because what did we say that first episode? Joy is the one who keeps the drugged water in her office.
Yes,
Joy is the one who is, from the very first episode.
Yeah.
She has always been playing the angles. She is the one, as we said, she's the one who gets her hands dirty. She is already corrupted. She gives the image of herself as the good little girl. But, for what it's worth, it says everything about the patriarchy that's the role she's been told to play. And she plays it.
I don't know. I think
like a virtuoso.
I think that was Harold sort of directing Ward to do it. I don't think she was a part of it.
Well, no, this is what I'm saying. No, because she does do it. We see that she is the one who steals the organs for the guy to make the deal. We see that she's the one who drugs Danny in that first betrayal. We see that in every step of the way, we see that she is the one who is much more involved, even without Harold's direct interplay. Basically, the corruption that was Harold instilled in her as a young girl, and she took it to her heart, and that became her raison d'etre. That became the reason for her existence. And like I said, because she's a pretty girl with well-combed hair, we're all easily lulled into thinking, oh no, she's the good girl. She's Danny's friend. She's who Danny might fall in love with. But no, she's not. She has always been the monster. And I think that's, now maybe she doesn't even know how much of a monster she is, but I actually think, let me put it this way, her heel turn at the end does not strike me as being that overwhelming.
Earned? That's how I thought.
I felt it was very much, basically, I felt that the entire series was her trying to make a face turn and never quite getting there. And at the end is her just saying, to heck with the face turn. I'm a heel. And that's what I'm going to be. That's my
I feel like, my take is I feel a little let down because this is the moment I was hoping for and wanting the whole ride. But once you get there, if you do it without laying the pieces and the groundwork for this decision from the beginning, it just feels empty. And again, lazy storytelling. Because in my view, I don't think she was responsible for the poison in Danny's drink. She seemed upset about it. I think Ward made her do it because Harold made him do it. And yes, she's good at, getting things done. And indirectly through Harold, I think she garnered some of that guile. But I think it was from watching Ward. She even says it, everything I did because I watched you do it. I wanted to be more like you. I looked up to you.
Yeah.
And,
but what you're doing,
really
you know what you're doing? You're giving her the I was only following orders defense. And the fact of the matter is, when you make that decision to follow an order you know is evil, and when you follow that order with relish, it's no longer...
Did she though?
You know what? Let me put it to you this way. No one made her steal that organ from whoever was higher up on the transplant list.
Well, okay. Well, yeah, but not the thing. I don't think she relished doing that to Danny.
Well, the first time she certainly...
Yeah.
Well, what it was a necessary action to take. She didn't know if he was... that's the thing. There's always this long list of justifications she can provide herself. But that doesn't mean she is without culpability.
Right.
I get what you're saying too, but like I said, I think, and this is what I'm going to say, I think that is the glory of that actress. And where the Iron Fist story really did have its strength, which was in the Meacham family story.
Right.
And I think that
despite their best efforts,
that I think that the idea that you have these corrupted children, both Ward playing to be the good guy at the end, Ward making the face turn, and Joy making the heel turn. I think in both cases, those turns, I think Ward was always the beaten dog who turns on his owner. You don't blame the beaten dog for turning on his owner. And so that Ward becomes the face at the end was never even though he starts as the heel was the role he was forced into. With Joy, the face was the role that she was forced into. And her heel turn is her getting the chance to just be who she truly is. More surprising to me is that Davos is Davos is
yes.
The fact that Davos,
and as bad of a guy as he was, as screwed up and as emotionally off center as he was, I did not expect him to be on the other side.
Well, yeah, but of course the reason why is because he wanted to be the Iron Fist. It is the classic comic book supervillain's origin. I deserved what was given to someone else.
Right.
Someone else is better than me, someone else is stronger than me, someone else is smarter than me. And they got to be what I did not get to be, and they will be the hero and I will be the villain. And unless you're the Kingpin, very few people want to embrace the role as villain. Most people would rather lie to themselves and say they are a hero than to say they are the evil men upon the road.
But again, we're talking about people having different sets of moralities that they operate from,
Well, certainly. And of course, the thing with Davos is that, of course, Davos, he is born to this world on some level. He is in Kunlun. He has trained his whole life. He feels he is destined for something. And in many ways, this is the comparison to Baron Mordo in Doctor Strange. If you actually read the comic book origins of Baron Mordo, the whole thing of Baron Mordo is he is this person who he is born at a certain point under the stars during a human sacrifice. Everything about his life is meant to make him be the Sorcerer Supreme. Every deck is stacked for him to be that. And then he actually gets to the point where he is in the running and some schmuck walks in who had none of his advantages.
Right.
But because of intelligence, skill, and pluck, overcomes them. The classic David Goliath story. And, as we traditionally think of it, not the way that Malcolm Gladwell thinks of it. In the classic way, it's this idea of the guy who, with an outsider's perspective, leads to a greater outcome. This is a popular myth in our society. It's a myth that gets us outsider politicians who come to power, and sometimes those outsider politicians do in fact change the dynamic because they see things in a slightly different way. They're not as caught up in one thing or another. But likewise, being that outsider can also make you very corrupted. And so if you are a Baron Mordo or a Davos, you always see that person as corrupt. You always see that person as the person who cheated his way to get there. And so
what do you think Davos' intention is here?
His intention is to destroy the Iron Fist and show that he was the one who was most deserving.
Oh, okay. So it's just to say, screw it, I just want to be proven right, and if I have to destroy everything I'm supposed to care about, I don't care, I'm going to be proven right, rather than do what's right.
And that's what makes you a supervillain. Because, and again, to get back to the Bushido Code, it is killing for its own sake.
Right.
Or no, it's killing for your sake, not for the greater good.
Right.
So for
that's a bad guy I can get behind.
Yes. Yeah. Well, but that is, that is arguably, and that is the line the Punisher walks when we get into the WNOcast coming soon. The Punisher, he isn't killing because he has any personal stake against anyone. He is killing because he feels there's too much evil in the world and someone has to take that stand.
Right.
And he doesn't,
There is a little bit of vengefulness and anger and
there's vengefulness and anger, but it's not personal. So when we get to that first scene when he kills the entire Kitchen Irish, or the entire gang, or when he goes to the Dogs of Hell and kills that whole gang, it's not like there's anything personal against any individual. It's just that you're evil men, and evil men must be dealt with.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that in the Devil You Know cast. Okay. And then our final scene, and this is, and like I said, this is the thing. So Danny takes Colleen back to the Himalayas, back to Kunlun. And now we know that the path to Kunlun has been left open for all this time. They were in danger, and certainly we see that danger was well founded because we see 2 men dead on the road to Kunlun.
Yeah.
And we say, are they monks? No, they were hand soldiers killed with their own daggers by whatever they came across, which is good because it tells you that for what it's worth, Kunlun didn't need an Iron Fist to protect it.
What do you think happened there?
Well, I mean, if I'm going to be honest with you, I think that they actually, without Iron Fist, they had to actually bother Xiaolao the Undying, and he was the one who had to do the murdering. And I think I'm sure there's a cost involved when you wake up Xiaolao the Undying. But that's one option. Or the other option is,
I wonder.
Yeah,
I wonder if this was where Davos was corrupted. Where this was where Davos returned to the opening to protect Kunlun and was attacked by the Hand, and somewhere in the battle they're like, come to our side, blah, blah, blah. I should have been the Iron Fist, and yada, yada, yada. And they bring him back and convert him.
I mean, that's a possibility. Or the other possibility is, because this is what I think is most important. Danny, after they find the monks or the Hand soldiers dead, Danny goes to the gates and there's nothing there. That the city of Kunlun is gone. And this is important. Now, in the comic books, it's well understood and established that Kunlun is a magical city like Brigadoon, and it comes into existence once every so often, and then it fades away after a time. And if you are inside the borders when it disappears, then you'll be inside its borders for that time. And, if you're outside its borders, you're outside of its borders and you can never get back in until it returns.
So right now we have no idea of knowing what's happening in Kunlun. It could be rampant sort of murder happening in there. The Hand could be killing everybody, and we have no way of knowing, right?
Exactly. We have absolutely no way of knowing, unless they do a tie-in with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because I don't know if you saw the last episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when Ghost Rider opens up a doorway to where he's going to take the Darkhold. And I remember I looked at it and I was like, is he taking that to Kunlun? Because it looked like he was taking it to somewhere in the Himalayas. So I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, boy.
And that would be an awesome tie-in. But in this moment, the point is that we do see that Kunlun is a city that disappears. And it reestablishes this idea that Kunlun is a magical place. Is a place not bound by what we understand as science. And certainly you could create a scientific explanation for what happened. But the reality is that what it is there is a weakness in the laws of physics in this omniverse that allows things to slip in and out of existence. And Kunlun has gone back to another place. And what is important about that is when we first start seeing Kunlun, it seems like Danny thinks of it as the reason they can't go through the passage is because of ice and snow and the dangers of walking through a Himalayan pass.
Right.
What we actually see here is that the reason why the path opens isn't because the weather changes and the ice melts, but because Kunlun is actually someplace else for 15 years at a time. And that is the big question we're left with at the end of this. I
just felt like it was what you ever saw from the position they're in when they're looking and the city isn't there anymore was maybe just a projection of Kunlun that's always actually somewhere else. And by, this gate, you're walking into an illusion that eventually takes you spiritually somewhere else, I guess. But I just figured the Kunlun is always somewhere else, and this is just a projection of it.
See, for me, I think that if that was the case, then Danny would know that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But he's only been away once, so I mean, he's not that bright. Also.
Yeah, well, this is true too. Well, we'll have to watch in Defenders, in the Mighty Defenders, to find out what the actual outcome is. And that is the final episode of the IronCast. Ladies and gentlemen, I really hope you've enjoyed walking this path of philosophy, martial arts, wisdom, and action adventure with Mozz and myself. I certainly hope you're going to stick close for the rest of the AKA Jones cast, the upcoming Devil You Know cast, and eventually the Defenders cast, which we still have to name. I'm still leaning to Don't Get Defensive. But we'll discuss that, Mozz and I. Okay. And Mozz, if people would like to tell you their best ideas for the name for our future podcasts, where can they reach you?
They can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR. Okay.
And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, as they do in Kunlun once every 15 years, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitters at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEssser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. Students, we have come to the end of the IronCast. But it is not truly the end. For the path to Kunlun is not a path to a door, but a road leading forever into the horizon. Good night.